Welcome back, warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday, everybody. I see you guys. Some of you are already here. What a great week we've had, and it's been a very interesting week. And I know you guys have been following the news and everything. So much is going on with these cabinet picks by Donald Trump, and it's exciting. And you've got to go see my videos that I did today. Some information came out about Barack Obama, and yeah. Barack Obama has been caught up in the mess with the Russia collusion hoax, proof that it was him, allegedly, right? Allegedly. But thank you all for joining me here today. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sharing a video with Candace Owens. She's debating with a Clefty Lefty. That's my nickname for people who are on the far left. His name is Marc Lamont Hill, and he believes in all that really crazy woke ideology that you can just transform yourself into whatever thing you want to be, regardless as to how you were, born at birth. So in any event, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I do start off with prayer, God, because prayer is the most important thing. So, Father God, in the name of Jesus, we come before you, and we thank you so much for being good and just blessing us, even though we just sometimes, God, we're just hard to deal with. And we're just grateful that you love us anyway. And we pray for this country. We pray that there is an international revival, Father, particularly on the United States of America and over its leadership. Father, that you continue to expose all evil and just expose the works of darkness on an international scale, Father, and those who are innocent of what they've been accused and convicted of and indicted of. I pray that they are proven to be innocent. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Michael Rodriguez, Iron Ear. Hello, 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 June. Hello so much. Thank you guys for joining me. You are my faithful warriors. You're always here. I appreciate you, and I just want you to remember, and yes, smash the like button. Thank you. I always forget that for some reason. So smash the like button. I really appreciate that. Just smash it. Just really smash it, okay? We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you all, and we're going to get into this whole thing with Candace Owens and Marc Lamont Hill as she debates him.
All right, happy Friday, friends. So Disney's Snow White, the young actress that's playing Snow White, rather, Rachel Zegler, has offered up an apology after wishing harm to all Trump supporters. And it's pretty clear that her apology is being forced by Disney to save the film, which is supposed to be released in March. Plus, the left is in panic mode about RFK Jr.'s appointment. I mean, truly freaking out. People are threatening to quit the FDA. Who wants to tell them that that's exactly what we want to happen? We'd like you all to quit your jobs and for the FDA to be shuttered, if we're being frank. But first, former CNN pundit Marc Lamont Hill and I clashed again. We've been actually clashing a lot over the years, a long history of clashing, particularly over the topic of transgenderism. So let's get started. Welcome back to Candace. Let's start with an Elon Musk tweet. Elon Musk tweeted this first thing this morning. He wrote, "The political party closest to the views of the moderates will win. That party is currently the Republicans." And you know what? I think he's absolutely right. He is on point. I think the single biggest issue that moved moderate voters to the Republican side was the issue of transgenderism. Years ago, because I was way ahead of the curve, and everybody was hating me. Back in 2020, I had former CNN pundit Marc Lamont Hill on my show, which was then on PragerU. I want you to keep in mind when I show you this clip that at this point in time, Marc Lamont Hill was a professor at Temple University. So he was qualified to teach students. You send your kid to university, and they could have encountered Marc Lamont Hill at Temple University campus. He was an educator. Assumption that he was quite educated. I asked him some very basic biological questions about the differences between males and females, and he seemed to get a little bit tripped up. Here is how he responded. It is now come to a point where if you say that only women can give birth, you are called a bigot. That is crazy. That's nuts. So if you say, like J.K. Rowling did when she got canceled by the Harry Potter cast, that only women can menstruate, okay? Can men get their period? Can you help my audience? Can men get their period?
Some can.
Okay.
Yeah, trans men. There's some trans men who can. And again, I think it's okay to ask interesting questions. I think it's okay to have intellectual debates. But I don't think that we ever want to enter a space where we deny the humanity. And I'm not saying you are, but to deny the humanity or the experiences of other people.
You could see he just honestly, I was rendered into silence, just very much clearly stated that he believed that men could get their period. And I was just aghast at the fact that I was sitting across from a university professor who said that unflinchingly. And his point there is all about compassion. So that is really the debate. Have we been, and when I say we, I mean conservatives, have we been denying humanity, or have others been denying reality? Well, I can tell you that social media companies took his side in that debate over the years. They began mandating compassion, really. Compassion. I'm putting that in air quotations because that's always the excuse. It's about being compassionate and understanding.
And I got to say, it depends on how you see compassion or compassionate, because if, to me, in my mind, compassionate is telling you lovingly the truth, that there is nothing wrong with how you were born because God does not make mistakes. And I don't know how you can lovingly say maybe you should seek other types of help. I'm just saying it depends on how you view compassion. I view compassion as telling people the truth.
And on YouTube, as just one example, you could and still can receive strikes and lose your entire platform if you misgender someone like Dylan Mulvaney. That's just one example. If you do not refer to Dylan Mulvaney with the correct pronouns, you will get hit with a strike for hate. Or Biden's former nuclear waste official. Remember this individual?
I'm sorry.
Brinton. Yeah, well, the message from
Look at this, y'all. Come on now. Come on. Oh my gosh. Look at this mustache with this bright red. And he was a proponent of that bright red lipstick. I mean, I'm just, y'all, Lord help us, Jesus. I'm just saying, this is confusion. This is utter confusion and a hot mess. This is the same man that stole women's clothing, women's luggage from the airport and was caught wearing their clothes and had to be fired.
Social media companies was quite clear. Their lifestyles are not problematic. Our interpretations of their lifestyles are what is actually problematic. So you fast forward 4 years to now, and Donald Trump beats Kamala Harris handily, and suddenly the topic of transgenderism is again being debated. People are wondering, did such speech mandates ultimately help or hurt Kamala's cause? Because there were a ton of them: fact checkers, the police, the moral police, the feelings police. Did supporting transgendered athletes and women losing out to biological men in sports competitions actually work to bring people over to the Democratic Party? Well, in the immediate wake of the election results, I offered that transgenderism may have been a bridge too far for many moderates, like my sisters, who voted Republican for the very first time. But again, Marc Lamont Hill and I, when we were matched up on Piers Morgan, we just could not find common ground on this assessment. Take a listen. My sisters were on the left, and this is the first election that they voted for Trump. They're from Connecticut, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, I guess you could say, and they moved away. And the trans issue was the number one reason that they did.
Yeah.
What they said was happening in the school system made them fearful. They have sons. They thought it was completely crazy and bizarre that they're insisting upon trying to make toddlers. My sisters have toddlers believe that they can be anything that they want and that they're non-binary. They truly believe the left has gone crazy. And they say, I didn't leave the left left me. And that is an accurate statement to make, because they cannot just see things that are just so plainly obvious. They are trying to criminalize the idea that a woman is a woman, and you can't just become a woman because you feel a certain way on the inside. And the right, like I'm doing right now, I will just say it as it is, right? You are not a woman. I am sorry that you are suffering from a mental disorder. If you were suffering from any other mental disorder, I would treat you the same way. I want you to get better. But because you are suffering from a mental disorder does not mean that I have to pretend that I have a mental disorder and that I see things differently. I don't.
There was a New York Times report today that said that one of the most effective Trump ads during the presidential race towards the end was the one where he had Kamala Harris saying, she'll call you they, them, I'll call you, you, or whatever it was. And
that was the ad where Kamala Harris was going to provide, those surgeries to illegal inmates. People came to the country illegally while they were in prison, provide these changes, sex changes on our dime, taxpayers' money. And then it said Kamala is for they, them. Donald Trump is for you. And that was a very effective ad.
That turned out to be, to the Trump campaign team's surprise, one of their most effective ads of the whole race, apparently, which suggests it is a much bigger issue than some Democrats clearly want people to think.
I'm not sure anyone, and again, I need to see the data to speak to this, just as we all should. I don't think anyone is voting for the president based on this issue. It could be an issue that tips the scale, but I think most people aren't voting for president based on this issue. I just don't think it's the priority issue of most people.
Mothers are.
I do. Again, they may be. I'd like to see the evidence of that. I can't say definitively one way or the other, but it's never happened before in any election, so this would be the first time. So if it's true, just show me the evidence, and I'm happy to learn from it.
Well, we are happy to teach you from it. We got the data, we got the evidence that Mark was looking for, and it turns out that I was correct. Exit polling proved that trans mania moved moderates over to the Republican side. I'm going to show you this chart, which was done by Blueprint. Blueprint is a new public opinion research initiative that's designed to take a sober, detailed look at what Democrats need to do to win in 2024. And so they were actually polling people, and what you can see, and we're going to get closer here, is that they are just asking questions to voters, all voters, swing voters, Black voters, swing voters that chose Trump, and Latino voters, about the topics that they cared the most about. So what you're seeing in that chart that's dark green means that this was the most important thing to all voters. And number 3, you look at that column, number 3, you see Kamala Harris is focused more on cultural issues like transgendered issues rather than helping the middle class. So yes, this was a very important issue to people that were.
This is like the third on the list. First was the economy, saying the inflation was too high. Next was the illegal immigration issue. And then it was like she's focused more on cultural, or I would say social issues, rather than what I call kitchen table issues, rather than helping the middle class. And that's third in the list, which means it's ranked pretty high. Yeah, I mean, people don't deal with those issues that she was talking about on a day-to-day basis.
Were moderate to people that were on the left, and it brought them over. The Dems caring more about social causes than worrying about reality, gas prices, groceries. And by the way, in case you missed it, here is the Trump campaign ad that proved to be the single most effective ad of the entire Trump campaign. Take a look.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you. That worked. Bottom line, lessons learned. People care deeply about this issue. People don't like their children being indoctrinated. They also don't like being called names for not wanting their children to be indoctrinated. So these people, like my sisters, are now seeking out independent media voices that reflect their ideas rather than shame them, making them think that there's something wrong or backwards about what they view to be just common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that is what sets them upon the slippery slope, my friends, because then while they're listening to those independent voices, maybe about just one topic like transgenderism, they then learn about other topics that they didn't even realize they may have been indoctrinated about. And I'll give you a perfect example. So this morning, I always talk to my sisters on the phone when I go for a walk. I'm talking to my little sister on the phone, and we're speaking about this. And I'm not kidding when I say that I broke her brain when I started speaking to her about the truth regarding the Laramie Project, the Matthew Shepard story. Now, I'm just going to riff on this in case you guys are not familiar with who Matt Shepard was or what the Laramie Project was, I don't know if this was just Northeastern indoctrination, but essentially when I was in high school, we were all made to learn the story in our classrooms about a gay kid named Matthew Laramie, a gay guy named Matthew Laramie, who was killed back in 1998. In fact, the drama students rather, put on a play called the Laramie Project. There was even a day where students were supposed to be silent all day. Like it was supposed to be this like silent, we are all recognizing this hate crime that happened to a gay man, and you were supposed to wear a certain color and be quiet to sort of honor this horrific thing that happened to Matthew Shepard. I am talking focused indoctrination in the classroom. Anybody that didn't participate in it was like, what's wrong with you? Do you hate gay people? Like, why aren't you choosing to be silent today and participating in this? Don't you know what happened to Matthew Shepard? Then you all have to go watch the play, the Laramie Project, to learn about what happened. And here's a story that we were told, okay? So back in 1998, this took place in Laramie, Wyoming. Allegedly, the worst anti-gay hate crime took place in American history. There was this young man named Matthew Shepard who was homosexual, and he was beaten by two assailants. I'm showing you them right now, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. They pistol whipped him with a gun, then they tied him to a fence in freezing conditions, and they set fire to him before leaving him to die, all because he was gay. Except apparently that is not the entire truth. Check out this headline in The Guardian, because it's quite shocking to read this headline and to read what they chose to put under it. The truth behind America's most famous gay hate murder. And then they write, Matthew Shepard's horrific death at the hands of redneck homophobes shocked America and changed its laws. Now, a different truth is emerging. But does it matter? I love that. Julie Bin was like, okay, so now we're learning the truth, but does it even matter? We got laws changed. Plays are being done. We have kids being indoctrinated. Does it actually matter what the truth is? Well, I'm going to tell you what the truth is, because I realized my sister didn't know it. There might be tons of people who are first-time listeners to the Candace Owens show. Maybe they don't know it. But yeah, the lie was actually exposed by a gay journalist. His name is Stephen Jimenez. And he investigated the Matthew Laramie case for 13 years, Matthew Shepard case, pardon me, for 13 years, interviewed more than 100 people that were connected to the case. And then he published his findings in a book entitled The Book of Matt. And boy, he did not expect the hate that he received, not just from Guardian writers, but from left-wing writers. How could you do this as a gay man? How could you publish this? How could you publish the truth? Well, what did he discover? Well, this is directly from that Guardian article. Jimenez found that Matthew Shepard was addicted to and dealing crystal meth and had dabbled in heroin. He also took significant sexual risks and was being pimped alongside Aaron McKinney, one of his killers, with whom he had had occasional sexual encounters with. He was HIV positive at the time of his death. Matthew's drug abuse and the fact that he knew one of his killers prior to the attack was never explored in court. Neither was the rumor that the killers knew that he, Matthew Shepard, had access to a shipment of crystal meth with a street value of $10,000, which they wanted to steal. Jimenez, the journalist, told other journalists this regarding his book. He said, quote, "The view was that homophobic rednecks walked into a bar and saw an obviously gay man with money and targeted him and beat him to death for that reason. That isn't what happened. Nothing in this book takes away from the iniquity and brutality of the crime or the culpability of his murderers, but we owe Matthew and other young men like him the truth." What is the truth? The truth is that Aaron, the murderer, and Matthew, the victim, had a friendship. They had been involved sexually. They bought and sold drugs from each other. That complicates the original story of two strangers walking into a bar and targeting Matthew, someone that they did not know because he was gay. Are you comprehending what I am saying here to you guys? They got laws passed. They blame this, of course, as always, on rednecks, conservatives. They walked into this bar, they saw a gay guy, and they decided to kill him and chain him to a fence just because he was gay. We're going to leave out the part that actually the killer knew him, and that actually the killer himself was also a homosexual who was sleeping with him and who knew that he had crystal meth on him because he was also dealing. The police officer who found Matthew Shepard's shoes, his truck, and his wallet, and wound up arresting one of his killers, was a man named Officer Flint Waters. There's a photo of him right here. Waters praised the book, saying this, quote, "I spoke to Waters," this is what the journalist said, "I spoke to Waters, who has since retired from the police, having seen him praise the book on Matt on social media. He said this, "I believe to this day that McKinney and Henderson were trying to find Matthew's house so they could steal his drugs. It was fairly well known in the Laramie community that McKinney wouldn't be the one that was striking out of a sense of homophobia. Some of the officers I worked with had caught him in a sexual act with another man, so it didn't fit. None of that ever made any sense." How crazy is that to think what the world was like before social media? We're talking about 1998. The fact that they were able to perpetuate this hoax on the public in order to actually fulfill their initiatives of wanting to get hate crime laws passed. This horrific murder. And like I said, no question, the journalist is correct. This was a horrific murder.
You know, that's crazy because it makes you wonder, like, what else that we were told is one way, but it's actually another way. And this being in the late 90s, of course, we didn't get social media till about 2005, I think. 2004, 2005. So they were able to perpetuate a lie. But there's been a lot of things, even after social media, that we've been told, oh, this is how it is, but it's not that way. I could name things off the top of my head right now that were perpetuated to the masses one way, but that's not how it went down. I'm actually in the middle of reading this book called Chaos. Wow, it is crazy. It's about the Manson murders, the CIA, and the secret history of the 1960s. It is absolutely gut-wrenching. I mean, I was like, well, I can't believe I'm reading this, but I'll let you all know what I find. You might want to check it out. Let me know if you've read about the book Chaos, if you read it or know anything about it.
But this murder happened by a gay man and a person that he had been having a homosexual relationship with, who he shared drugs with and sold drugs with from time to time. It's sickening to look back and to realize that we too were indoctrinated. My sister coming undone about this, going like, I thought it was just them that were being indoctrinated about the trans stuff, and that's why I moved over to the conservative side. Once you start with one issue and you work your way backward, you realize that our mainstream media has always been dishonest with us, with the explicit aim of just trying to jam through policies, to jam through candidates. There's always a big lie that is established, and anybody that questions that lie, they come for. But guess what? It's a different time. It's a different day. People are waking up. I'm so happy that I get to play a small part in that. You know, I'm so happy that people are beginning to question this and going, okay, what really is going on with this community? Who is behind this that's pushing this upon our children? And if it takes us getting into trouble for telling the truth, as we have been this entire year, I'm happy to do that, because I think in the end, truth wins. All right, guys, before we get into Rachel Zegler, I have so much to say about that. I just want to remind you guys about preborn, because in many ways, this past election brought abortion to the forefront. There are many states who have radicalized abortion, and tragically, thousands of babies will continue to lose their lives, which is why preborn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front line.
Yeah, she's going into preborn, but I was just thinking about the book Chaos that I'm currently reading, and I just started reading. I'm only about in the page 21 or 22. And you guys, I'm going to have to tell you about what I have been reading, and don't forget to smash the like button. Please don't forget to smash like. But what I really want to tell you is I'm also on Patreon and Rumble. You need to go to my Rumble channel, ChatWithMeLindaB, but type it in as one word when you're on Rumble. There's some certain content there that you should really check out. And also I have a paywall Patreon, and everything is in the link, in the description below, to Patreon, and it will have exclusive content there, and you can just pay a small price for exclusive content.
Rachel Zegler, and one is from Nicole Scherzinger. Let's actually start with Rachel, because I really was just on one last night with this. So in case you missed yesterday's episode, essentially there has been this problematic star named Rachel Zegler. She's 23 years old. She's very young, obviously, and she has a huge platform because she was sort of made famous by Steven Spielberg. I think he cast her for the West Side Story. She's talented. People like her. And of course, they get a platform and they just start talking-ish, especially to conservatives. So she published this in in the wake. And by the way, it was a 4-part series, vitriolic series that was aimed at Trump supporters. And she published this, which I just want to show you. I find myself speechless in the midst of this, yada, yada, yada. This sentence here is quite shocking now in the retrospect. I didn't catch this yesterday. She wrote, leading us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in. Leading us towards a world that will force her to have a baby that she doesn't want. Leading us towards a world that is fearful. So just to hit pause on that part before we get to the bottom, people brought to my attention the fact that she doesn't have a daughter, okay? So her whole bit, she's so angry about this idea that her daughter can't have abortion. She's speaking about her future daughter, her someday daughter. Like, she is distraught and coming undone because the daughter that she doesn't have, if she chooses life, because obviously she's so pro-abortion, maybe she's just going to abort her own offspring. She is creating this message and having a meltdown because her daughter that doesn't exist might come of age, might have unprotected sex, and might therefore get pregnant and not want that pregnancy, and then won't be able to abort that child. The layers of privilege here, you just got to peel them back like an onion. The layers of privilege to arrive at a person that is coming mentally undone by this utterly implausible situation that she has laid before our feet. Like, she doesn't even have a daughter. I was so shocked. I assumed reading this because she was...
I assumed she had a daughter. I was like, oh, she's young. She's already got a daughter. Girl doesn't even have a child yet. Lord have mercy.
So angry that she must have actually had a daughter. I was like, well, and I said yesterday on the show, I was like, what is her daughter? Like 3 years old? I mean, if she's 23, how old could her daughter be? 6, maybe? No. Her daughter doesn't exist. This is what we're dealing with in Hollywood. They just come up with stories in their head and then victimize themselves from those stories. Her poor, non-existent daughter is what led her to post this. So anyways, then she goes on to essentially say that she hopes that Trump and his supporters never have any peace. That's just an ever-going disturbance in all of our lives, because God forbid we don't understand this predicament of her imaginary child. You monsters. All of you are monsters watching this show that you did not, when you went to the polls, consider Rachel Zegler's non-existent child. Like, I think I'm done. I'm done with Trump supporters too. You angry, awful, backwards people. Consider the imaginary people. Okay. So obviously this caused an absolute firestorm because she went on and on. It was super nasty in these posts. And Disney came down on her. And I want to let you know why people are especially upset about this, because I also forgot about this. I mentioned it at the end of the show yesterday, but I do want to draw to your attention more closely that Gina Carano got fired from Disney. So the same company that is paying Rachel Zegler to be Snow White fired Gina Carano the first time around when things were happening with COVID and they were kind of treating the unvaxxed like, I don't know, like we were all crazy and should be second-class citizens. This is what Gina Carano posted that got her fired from Disney, okay? She wrote, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Sad face. Because history is edited... This is a quote, by the way. It's not coming from her. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? End quotation. So her point here is that we're becoming so hateful about political views that we're starting to hate our neighbors, and that's not good. History tells us that's not good. Disney saw this and they said, you're fired. Okay, Rachel is now explicitly calling for Trump supporters to be harmed, to experience disturbances throughout their entire life, and it's crickets. And so obviously they then put pressure on her to apologize. And here's what she offered up on Instagram last night, which really set me off. She wrote, hi, everyone. I would like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared on my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding. And I am sorry that I contributed to negative discourse. This week has been emotional for so many of us, but I firmly believe that everyone has the right to their opinion, even when it differs from my own. I am committed to contributing positively toward a better tomorrow. Now, let's be very clear. The only...
those apologies, they're made to apologize. They're never sincere. Everyone has to protect their investment. They have to protect their money, and you need to get out there and apologize. You dumb little girl, for saying those things. So it's never really sincere. Their handlers, their managers, or whoever that's over them and controlling their career is making them apologize.
reason she's offering up this apology. It's been a week, okay? So she wasn't like she flew into a rage and woke up next morning calm, okay? She meant what she said. She said what she said, did not care, did not expect conservatives to dig this up and start calling for a boycott of Disney. And once they started saying boycott Disney Snow White, she then went, uh-oh, because some executive called her and basically said, hey, have you noticed the map? Everybody in this country votes red. And you're on the side of people that are aborting their kids. They're on the side of people that have the kids who are watching Disney movies and are likely to come watch the film because they're watching Snow White. So the family side is the conservative side. We're making this movie likely because it's a pitch to families. And so maybe you posting that you wished all of those families harm for keeping their children wasn't the best idea. It's a weak apology. She doesn't mean it. And I do not think, therefore, that we should formally accept it. I really don't. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't find it in our hearts to forgive her. Of course we should. So many of us, myself, we're Christians. Okay, we forgive you, but we also know that you're not actually apologetic, because if you were, you would give us a little more action on this. I think that when they do stuff like this, it's not enough for them to say, hey, we want your dollars, because that's what this is. It's basically saying, I actually do hate you. I do think you're backwards, but I also need your money to sustain my career. I personally will now never watch a film that she is in at all until she does some meaningful work, actually goes and meets people that drive trucks, the farmers, the ranchers, the people that make it so her life is so privileged. I mean, this girl probably doesn't even know how her Amazon packages arrive, right? She's probably just up in Beverly Hills buying whatever she wants online, and she resents the people that make her life possible. She calls someone when the toilet's broken. She resents the plumber. She resents the electrician. She resents the people that work with their hands, because she's never had to think about their lives. She's never had to think about what it means to not be able to afford groceries. She's never had to think about what it means when you buy a couple of items, it's $100, and you've got tons of kids, and you're being told to just accept that because your money has to go overseas. And so I just don't accept this. And I'm so happy that we are starting to see culturally things are changing. And the only reason it is changing, by the way, is because we have to say that this is our bottom line. We have to hold the line. We are not going to see Snow White. We are off the Snow White chain. I've been off the Disney chain in general, but like, we are fully now boycotting this movie. And like I said, until she means what she says, with a little bit of action, until she says, I met this individual down in Tennessee, Texas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma, and I realized that I'm an ass. Because that's what she is. And I hate to say it, but that's exactly what she is. She has no experience with real life. Hollywood is a bubble. But I am so happy to say, ladies and gentlemen, that it's a bubble that is being popped. People do not like or listen to these out-of-touch individuals anymore. So the left, the Democrats, they're going to have to think of a new card, because when we start saying no to Disney, Beyonce, and truthfully, I do believe that Justice for Gina Carano would mean that this Rachel girl was fired. When we're saying no to Taylor Swift, it means that they've got nothing left in the arsenal.
They don't have anything left in the arsenal. And another thing I was thinking too, they always use the race card, the race baiting, like racial grievances, and have people at each other's throats, making Black people emotional and saying, what they put out there about, oh, he's a dictator, he's a fascist, he's a white supremacist, and this is racism. And, remember that singer John Legend saying that Donald Trump is a racist to his core. He's racist to his core. And I was like, you just need to keep singing. Don't talk about politics, just sing, okay? And all the little comments that they have to make, using stars, they felt like if they used famous people. But there are more people who are not famous, who are part of the working class, who are middle America people. You saw how the map looked, all that red. Take the states away and just look at the red across America. So we spoke very overwhelmingly that all that celebrity stuff and that BS they were pushing, we just didn't buy it. Not a bit of it.
That was their entire arsenal. Celebrities, Hollywood films, and now we're saying, you know what, we don't need it. We just prefer cheap groceries. It's amazing. By the way, another celebrity to offer an apology, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous, Nicole Scherzinger. If you're not familiar with Nicole Scherzinger, she's a singer. She was in the group, the Pussycat Dolls. They were very big. I think in the 2000s, they were very big. And she apparently follows Russell Brand, which isn't shocking because Russell Brand first and foremost spent the majority of his career being on the left, and he is also was in Hollywood, was in tons of movies. So yeah, he's got a pretty big audience and probably has tons of friends in Hollywood. And Russell Brand posted this on Instagram. He wrote, "Make Jesus first again," which makes sense because Russell Brand obviously was recently baptized. He's using his platform to speak about Jesus Christ, to speak about what brought him to his faith. He's praying the rosary every single day. This, of course, is a completely non-controversial post unless you're a leftist and your mind just goes crazy when you see a red hat, period. You don't even read what it says. The hat could say anything. It could be a hat for a sports team, but these people just have an emotional breakdown and they go crazy and they go, "Oh, what about my imaginary children they won't be able to abort their imaginary children?" Like, this is how their brains work. I'm telling you, they're not right in the head. So the left had a meltdown because Nicole Scherzinger saw that hat, make a hat about putting Jesus Christ first, these demonic individuals. And she wrote this under it. She wrote, "Where do I get this hat? Prayer hands and a heart." Oh my gosh. Oh my, what? Cancel Nicole Scherzinger. What? Is she team like bring Jesus back? Like, what is she, like team Easter here? What's going on here? How dare she? She's in Hollywood. We worship the devil. We worship ourselves. We're a pagan faith here in Hollywood. How dare this pussycat doll? Does she want to lose everything? Does she want to lose every contact that she has? You do not get on here and start talking about putting Jesus first, especially when it's put on a red hat. We all know what the red hat really means. And I'm sad to report that she actually bucked under pressure. And it really upsets me, obviously, because, I mean, you guys know where I stand on the Christ is King bit. Not 1 inch, not one apology, not one. I don't care what backwards flips you're doing. You're doing a limbo. You're like this, playing all sorts of weird games, trying to get me to see your view about how maybe sometimes it's not the right time. Shut up. Shut up. We're saying Christ is King. We're saying Merry Christmas. If you don't like it, shut up and step aside. I'm being serious. Like, not 1 inch on the Jesus Christ. Okay? Not 1 inch. But she obviously folded because she's in Hollywood and she therefore has different masters that she has to serve. And that's sad to say that because there is above Jesus Christ. No, you're bugging. You're bugging, Nicole. She posted this apology on Instagram. Sure, "I deeply apologize for the hurt caused by my recent engagement with some social media posts. When I commented on these posts, I made the mistake of not realizing that they could be easily interpreted as being politically related. And I apologize to anyone who understandably reached that conclusion." Understandably reached that conclusion. Then she goes on, "Many presumptions are being drawn which do not reflect who I am, what I stand for, or who I voted for. Many of the marginalized communities feeling hurt and concerned by the results of the presidential election are people that I care about most. I stand with them as I always have throughout my life and career. If you know me, you know that. Like so many others in times of adversity and uncertainty, I turned to my faith. I believed that the posts I engaged with were about encouraging people to choose love and faith, putting Jesus Christ first. For me, Christ embodies peace, compassion, hope, and above all, unconditional love, especially for those who may feel it the least right now. I come from a place of love, and I will always support values that bring us closer together. It's so important we come together with compassion and love one another more now than ever, Nicole." Yeah, you can say that. You can say that for the Lord, man. I don't know what to tell you. I just, there, to me, people that will buck on their faith in this way so easily because of a peer pressure campaign, like your cross to bear is you just have to just say nothing when people freak out over a hat that says to put Christ first. Any person reacting in that way is possessed by a demon. Don't care who it is. Don't care if they're purporting to be a conservative.
I gotta agree. I see this all the time. You know, you can't say anything that's biblical or support anything that's good and wholesome and pure. It's like Holly Weird is just so demonic, allegedly demonic. They go against everything. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying about the Democrats, because they seem to be that way also. And they always use Hollywood because I think they're virtually the same entity at this point. I mean, you see that the left always has all these left celebrities, almost all of them, the big names, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, all the big names. And everybody has to bow down to this pagan god of wokeness. It's disgusting. You know, and I'm like, Candace, I'm not bending. I'm not, no, I'm not doing it. If anybody that wants me to do that, you can go kick rocks barefoot. I do not care what you say. You go be whatever you want to be. But as for me and my house, we worship the Lord. Okay. Christ is King. Yeah. Amen.
And they're trying to spin it like it's like, no, you're just possessed by a demon. So I was not happy to see that. Too, as I said, fake apologies. She's just more concerned with getting invited to the right parties. And I think it's the wrong perspective to have. But I'll leave you guys to it and see what you guys have to say in the chat. Gonna take a quick minute here to talk to you about our store over at
Yes, guys. Yes. Let me just say, don't forget to smash that like button, please. Smash like, share, comment, everything, and go look at my videos today. And also, I am on Patreon. Chat with me, Linda B. The information is in the description below, as well as all other information, emails, other social media that I'm on, Cashapp, all the things. Just check out my description under all the videos, you guys. But I'm going to stop it right here. I'm going to leave the link to the full video in the description where you all can see all of it in its entirety. But I do appreciate you all stopping by and everything and checking me out this evening. I'm going to try to be very regular with my live streams, okay? If I don't, something came up, please forgive me. But I'm going to be very regular with my live streams like I do, 6 days a week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just convince your friends and those you know to check me out, to subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to say goodbye. You all be blessed. Very blessed. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Great night's sleep. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors. Good night, everybody. Be blessed and have a very good night.